Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wildlight. I'm Gray Wilder, your host, and I'm so excited for today's episode because today we will be talking about this grindset in anxiety in nature. So, this is kind of a niche topic, and I don't know if this will resonate with a ton of people or if this will get to the right audience, but I hope so. And I have a lot to say on this topic, so I just wanted to include this in an episode of this podcast because I think it resonates a lot with me, and I hope that it is relatable to other people as well. So, what I mean by this grind set, especially for naturalists, and I'm talking from the experience of a naturalist and a wildlife nerd and researcher. But honestly, this perspective can be applied to any discipline. I think that there is something to be said about the pressure of productivity in today's society and the grind set mindset. Even if you're not in the toxic alpha male or in the space that are all those TikToks that are like 3:30 a.m. I'm going out and working out, and 4:30 I'm making a smoothie with protein and all those ridiculous things. I'm not on that side of TikTok. I'm not on that side of any social media, but at the same time, I don't know what caused it, but I am a victim of this toxic productivity pressure mindset where I always am on my own case about sticking to deadlines and doing the next thing. Am I doing the next thing right? Am I showing up and showing out every single time? And if I'm relaxing for one moment, do I deserve this time? So I just wanted to take this episode to kind of talk about that and rehash my thoughts on that. And I hope y'all will come along with me for the ride and share your perspective on what this is as well. Because I'm not trying to claim that I'm over it or I'm better than it or I've healed or I've fixed this problem, because I definitely haven't. This is a big part of who I am. And it's a big part of why I am where I am within my career right now. But at the same time, I think it is worth talking about, and I recognize that it is a somewhat toxic environment to have within your mind sometimes. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit. So I think a lot of social media right now has become a world seminar on the grind set. And even outside, touching grass, there's still a thought that passes by that's asking are you really making the most of this time? And I have a very extreme experience of this phenomenon because I've literally been nonstop working since I was 9 years old. At 9 years old, I published my first book. It was a fantasy fiction book about a superhero, and not saying that was hardcore working. I was working at 9 years old and I haven't stopped since. No. I had a childhood and I grew up, I had friends, blah blah blah. It wasn't I wasn't always on the grind, but I think at the same time I was always I was raised by my single mother, and she never really I was very lucky that I didn't have a mom that was very strict about grades or anything like that. we were dealing with a lot, and she was never that concerned about me and my grades. I think she supported me, and she like was happy when I got a good grade, sad when I didn't get a good grade, just like me, but allowed me to have the space to feel that emotion myself instead of pressuring me. And somehow I still put all this pressure on myself to get A's every single time, to keep publishing books because I got attention for it, and good attention. You know, I was like featured at Barnes and Noble, as an author, and reading my books to younger kids. I was in the news, on newspapers sometimes, and I was getting recognized for that. And people at school would recognize that I had a book out, and like that was another whole ball game in itself. Since then, I was being a childhood activist. I went to DC, talked to a senator's office about passing bills. I was like literally in middle school at the time. I was continuing publishing my books. I had a podcast out. I had a blog out. I had seminars that I would go to, and also city hall meetings that I would contribute to, and projects that I was leading. Like, I was on so many different things at the same time. I was volunteering on top of it. I was working at times, like an actual job, and like, oh my god, like I obviously all that was able to push myself into university, and I'm so grateful for my younger self that did all that. But at the same time, I think it is a result of this constant voice in my head that was saying like, do better, do better, do better, do more, because you can't end up where you're at right now. Like, you have to do better. You have to secure a better life for yourself and your mom. Like, you are the person that can do this. And if you do all these things, then maybe someone will understand like how passionate you are, and give you a chance. And like, it did end up happening. Like, I never thought that okay, this is like a therapy session. Like, I don't know how much this is going to contribute to the podcast, but like, maybe y'all will relate. But I had this mindset growing up that like, if it was like a thought in your head, it would never happen. Like, if you thought you were gonna like get an A on the test that day, I'd literally try and block every single like thought out of my head, because if I thought I was gonna get an A on the test, that means it wouldn't happen. If I thought I was gonna fail the test, well, that's a good thought to have, because then I won't fail the test. Like, I literally had this belief and really stuck with it for years, until it was proven wrong. And so if any of you guys are still in that mindset somehow, or had that mindset, know that it's not true, because I dreamed for years about going to Berkeley, and I never thought it would happen, because when I was out of state, I'm from Chicago, and I also didn't know anybody else who wanted to go there. I was low income, so I knew that I would never be able to afford an out-of-state school. I wouldn't even be able to afford school in general. I was hoping that maybe I'd go to a community college if I didn't get enough aid. And so I had this like mindset that if you think it, it's not going to happen. So since I had already thought of going to Berkeley so much, in fact, like I thought of like, oh, like what if I was going to class and I had a Berkeley professor? Like, that'd be so cool. Or like, oh, what if I was staying in a dorm and I had a great roommate? And I you know, always had this vision of my future that it included university. But in my head, I was like, oh, well, that will never happen for me, because I thought it. Because I dreamed it. I eventually, during COVID, my mom and I had a conversation that we decided it was time to move to a new place. And we decided that I pushed the idea of California, because my mom's dream was always to move to California, and we've been thinking about it forever. But in my head, I knew that she wouldn't go if it interfered with my plans in any way. And so I came to her with this idea of moving to California and using our savings to find some place, even though California is so much more expensive than Illinois is, we would make it work. And that way I would also be in state for all of the universities I was most interested in, which were the UCs, and specifically UC Berkeley. This story is getting long, but eventually I wanted to say that that thought process of like, oh, I thought it, so it won't happen. It did happen, and I was proven wrong the moment that I got my acceptance letter to UC Berkeley 3 months early, to let me know that I had been selected to interview for a full ride scholarship. And I eventually did get that full ride scholarship. And so now I am a student at UC Berkeley pursuing my education for the exact subject that I have always been fascinated by, animal health and behavior, at the university that I always dreamed of going to, UC Berkeley. So with that in mind, that is where my perspective was at as a young kid. And like, I was always doing the most I could to, of course I was like passionate about what I was interested in. Obviously I love animals, and I've worked with animals since I was old enough to sign up for volunteering. I was always working with animals, and always learning more and more on my free time, and sacrificing my time and energy into not only learning more, but also sharing more about that information through the works that I said before, like those books, podcasts, activism, city hall meetings, all that. It was all out of passion and out of interest and like a genuine desire to learn more and teach more. But at the same time, the other emphasis of that was the fact that I always wanted to be able to chase those dreams. And I thought, if nothing's gonna happen if I don't like push for it. If I let everything go right now, I will never even have a chance of going to university. And so a lot of that was to push my chances into becoming recognized and having somebody recognize my efforts and give me an opportunity that I never had before. So I understand that for me, I think this productivity mindset stemmed from a lack of opportunity growing up, and recognizing that those opportunities are out there, but they weren't for me, at least in that moment. And as a low-income kid, like, you realize like there's a gap here, there's a wall to climb up, and it's not easy. This thing is vertical. Like, you gotta like really put in the work to get over that barrier and break that cycle of continuing to have to go through the same struggles as your family did. So I want to emphasize again, my mom was never the type to push this onto me. She was never the one in my ear going like, oh, if you don't do this, you're not gonna do this, and you're not gonna make enough money. That came from myself. And when you think about it, I really genuinely think that must have had some influence, taught me that mindset, because where else did it come from? Like, I do think our society pushes this idea of like of constant productivity, at least in America. At least I have no idea how this plays out in other countries, but I think as an American kid, it was like pushed to me that like if you want to have that American dream, like that you take yourself from the bottom and you go up and have the life that you always dreamed, you have to work hard and you have to keep working hard, and you can never have a break, because why do you deserve a break as a person that like is dreaming for more? Like, I don't know. I think there is something to be said about the American ideal of productivity and efficiency, and how that impacts society and social media. Because as social media became more popular and more widespread, and I was watching a lot of more YouTube and on Instagram and on Snapchat and all the things, I think that also solidified things in my mind where my attention span was getting lower, and people around me were becoming famous, and people around me had people who cared about what they said. And for me, as a person who really like had something to be said and wanted to share that and has been trying to share that forever, I felt this sense of like a little bit of jealousy and like like some, yeah, I guess some jealousy is the best way to put it, but like I guess also some like burden and there's this word that I'm looking for and I can't find it. Do you guys ever feel that? It's like this word that like I don't know, I'm not finding it. It's gone. But you know what I get. You know what I mean? Like, I felt a little bit of jealousy of people who are so young getting the recognition that I've always like strived for. And this episode was meant to be on like productivity and grindset, and I think it's still there, but I think it's like there's a lot that goes into this with how I feel about it, and I hope y'all won't mind my tangents. But I think like I felt, and this is something that I'm not like completely over yet either, because like I still feel this for a lot of the time, is that, oh, like this person at this age did this, like, oh my god, this like 18-year-old has traveled every single country, like what? And now she has a platform with 10 million followers. I'm like, oh, and this young girl wrote a poem that inspired the nation, and now she has blah 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 blah, recognition and money and fame and status. And I was just like, I've been on this game for so long, and I have like 13 subscribers on YouTube, like 40 followers on TikTok, and like 600 followers on Instagram. I have never been able to, and not saying that follower count means anything, like I understand that doesn't really mean anything, and it seems a little like self-centered to say, oh, I've been doing all of this and I only have this many followers. That's literally what I said, and I get that sounds like whiny, but I think also it doesn't negate the fact that I feel like I have felt, and I do still feel sometimes, this like jealousy of people who have really like made their accomplishments successful and recognized, and get so many opportunities because of their recognition. There are people who are Nat Geo explorers that are younger than me. And I'm in Nepal right now on an independent research expedition, and doing the same things, maybe even like more complex things. And yet I still feel this like this barrier, like before I can, like something's holding me back because I'm doing the same things. I've done so much, and yet I still don't have that recognition. And recognition is the thing that builds opportunity. Recognition and connections builds opportunities that you might have never thought would be possible before. And I do feel like that jealousy coming on sometimes, and it's something that I'm working on fully. But I think bringing it back to that productivity and grindset topic that I was thinking of, it's just like that mindset as a kid, a low-income kid, to always want to improve and do better and do more so that I could have the opportunities to get myself out of the situation that I'm in. Not that I thought that it was so bad. I knew that I could live like this forever, and like I knew that I could live low income and like be fine. Like that's always how I've lived. I know it's not that bad. And like it wouldn't be the end of the world, but at the same time I still wanted to hope that dream of getting out of this this thing I was stuck in was still there, and it was still strong. And I also wanted to like bring my mom along with me, you know, like, I mean, some of this has already happened. I mean, all the things that I did in high school brought me to university. University brought me to career opportunities. This, the university paid for this whole experience that I'm on right now. I'm literally in a different country studying wildlife, and I'm making enough money that I can go home, and I'm planning to take my mom out on a trip to Catalina Island together. And that is the first trip that we've ever taken together overnight. First vacation that she's probably had in forever, question mark. I mean, like, she's had vacations before, but like probably at least in the past 10 years. And that's really special for me, and I'm very grateful for that. And that's all due to that productivity and grindset mindset. But at the same time, it has taken a toll on who I see myself as, and my mental health, in terms of like the anxiety that comes with like, oh, you better make another podcast soon, you better release another book soon, oh, you're not like publishing stories enough, you're not getting enough engagement, you're not publishing enough. There's always another thing, and I am an extreme example of how this like little voice in your head that I think was like an influence of society, because again, it wasn't my mom, it was definitely an influence from society that was saying like, oh, you better like get on every single thing that you can do, because if you don't, then like who's to say that you won't end up in the same place that you're at right now? You're gonna go in a circle if you don't push your way out of it. So I think there is an American, I don't know if it's exclusively American, but there is definitely in America a productivity value that is deeply ingrained into people who have listened to that voice or heard that influence. And it can do a lot of damage to a person, because it can do a lot of good things and a lot of damage. Because obviously, without that voice in my head, maybe I wouldn't have done any of the things I did. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten into UC Berkeley. Maybe I wouldn't have, be abroad where I am today. I probably wouldn't. But at the same time, it is exhausting hearing that voice all the time, and it is the cause of no one else but yourself. So you can't eliminate that outside voice. It's just because it's internal. But I think also what's to be said about that is that not only is it a constant anxiety within your head, is that it's also it's also created a pace of life that is so fast that when you're forced to slow down, it's almost uncomfortable. I don't know if anyone else relates to this, but rest and relaxation for me, I've talked to my friends about this, and I don't know if I really feel comfortable with the idea of rest and relaxation. And that might sound kind of extreme. My case is extreme anyway. I hope that not a lot of people relate, honestly, but I think rest and relaxation, there's always a voice in my head that's why aren't you doing this right now? Oh, but you want to relax? Oh, you want to sleep? Oh, but what if you did this instead? What if you were studying instead of watching a YouTube video right now? Do you really want to be scrolling TikTok right now? When you could be saving the world? When you could be helping people? There's always that kind of voice in my head. So I feel rest is stressful for me. And I think there must be other people, hopefully, who relate to this because rest, when you have this little voice in your head that has been influenced by that productivity value, it will always plague you when you're trying to relax. It will always be could you be doing something better right now than being lazy? And I think from what I've heard, I think a lot of very successful people deal with this because maybe they've worked so hard their entire life that when they finally make it, they're what do I do now? I'm supposed to rest? What is this? It's foreign and scary and uncomfortable at times. I'm in Nepal right now doing wildlife research, the dream. I'm living it right now. And when I came here, the first 2 weeks, I felt very guilty because I was kind of a little depressed. Not necessarily ultra depressed, but kind of uncomfortable, and not in the sense of culture or culture shock or anything like that. Because culture shock, yes, it plays its way. It plays in certain ways and in your experience and everything. But for me, I'm fairly adaptable and you get over it. It's a hump, but you get over it. I think what was most shocking for me was the change in pace in life, because things here are much more slow moving. At least I'm not in the capital. I am in an area that's right outside the national park. And for me, the switch up of going from university, straight from university, by the way, literal final season, constant anxiety. I was waking up at 5 a.m. to study for my exams, and my exams would be at 8 p.m. and it'd go till 10 p.m. And then you wake up again and do it again. And on top of that, I was coordinating my research stuff. I was talking to people from Nepal, and I was coordinating flights and stuff like that. And and that was not abnormal for me. That is my normal life. I'm crazy busy, all the time. But then when I came here, it was like, oh, well, you can get started on that next week. You know, just rest for a few days, blah, blah, blah. And I felt this sudden shift in the pace of life. And it was really hard for me to get used to. I felt useless in a way. I felt like uncomfortable. I felt lazy. I felt like I finally accomplished the dream, but maybe this dream wasn't meant for me, because there's downtime, and like I'm not needed all the time, and I'm not in charge of projects going on. I'm just like it was just so much slower. Like every 2 weeks I'd get like something, like a section of my project done, whereas maybe I would knock it out in like 2 days in Berkeley. So that was like interesting to have to adapt to, and it was hard at first. And I also felt that guilt on top of it, like, oh, I should be like having the time of my life right now, but why am I struggling? And so that productivity like voice in my head was pretty damaging, because then I was in this amazing place, but I was always like feeling like not accomplished enough, or not busy enough, not productive enough, not efficient. And it made me feel a certain type of way about the whole experience, and myself, and my career choice, and my path in life. It was really like a downward spiral of thoughts. And I realized like that is a very unhealthy mindset, and I am still trying to work through how I can make myself relax. I was looking up certain strategies, and it's somewhat hard to implement, because I almost don't want to change my ways, because then I'm like, oh, well, I've only gotten to the point where I am because of this mindset in my head. Like I need to keep it. But at the same time, I know that it's not the most healthy for me. So I've been starting to try and do like mini rests, like micro rest. And like, it sounds kind of silly, because for me, meditation and like breathing exercises and stuff, I respect that so much, and I have tried that. But I think for me, my mind is like so in the like in the productivity space, in that grind set, that it is really hard for me to take myself out of that and not be turning gears in my head while I meditate or try and do yoga or practice mindfulness. It's like really, really hard. Even when I'm having a walk in nature, I'm always like turning my gears, like, oh, like this is so beautiful. How do I conserve this? How do I tell people to conserve this? How do I blah, 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 blah. Like, it's always something's going on in my head. I'm like, next thing. But with micro rest, it's like literally 30 seconds. I just take 30 seconds and I stop looking at my phone. I like look away, and I look at the lamp or the rooftop or the plant, and like for 30 seconds I'll just stop for a sec and just think about nothing, hopefully, or just think about like, oh, that plant looks kind of like a crown, or like that plant looks like that would be an amazing wig. Like, I don't know, like stupid stuff like that, you know, just like not productive thoughts. And I think the vast majority of people may not experience that same extremism, but I think I hope that other people relate to my experience in terms of like that busy mindset. Like, you always have to be busy, because if you're not, then what are you doing? So I've been trying to do the mini rest thing, and then also I've been looking into like little ways to change my ways, because diving off the deep end for me is probably not going to work, because or without like serious dedication to that, and I don't know if I'm ready for that right now in my journey, but like I hope I get there one day, to be frank. But like for now, I've been looking into ways that are more like subtle, and one of them was noticing nature's rhythms, and for me that's like watching the sunrise, watching the sunset. So like if my mind has to be whirling, maybe just put some music on, but then just watch the sunset and just think for a little bit. And then like notice the slow things is what I'm trying to say. Like notice the sunrise, notice the sunset, notice how a plant is growing or like adapting to different sunlight. Notice little animals, like watch their little movements. Like if you see a squirrel on the street or a bird in the air, just like watch them for a sec and like appreciate that they're not thinking the same things as you. Like they don't have to think about getting an A on that final. They're just enjoying life, and so should you. So I also was looking into like how you can disconnect from that inner critic. And when I'm saying inner critic, I'm not very critical of myself in terms of like, oh, you didn't do this right, blah, blah, blah. I tend to let things go easily, but I'm saying my inner critic is more like, what's the next thing? Keep moving. What's the next thing that you can do to prove yourself? And to get to the next step in your career. And I've been trying to find ways to disconnect from that. Has it been working so far? I don't know, but I'm literally, this is a long journey for me. I'm sure it will be, because this has like been my mindset since like, I don't want to say like 9 years old, because then it's like, oh, you're 9 years old and I've been like on the grind set since 9 and blah, blah, blah. But you know what I mean? Like I really have been focused on accomplishments and putting things out there since I was 9 years old. So in that way, yes, I have this mindset really like drilled into me. This is a part of me right now, and that would take a long time to get to kind of shake that. But I think a good way to disconnect from that is like redefining success. And what I mean by that is like celebrate the little successes that you have. Like it's not how much that you do, but I mean, I'm trying to find a way to explain this in a good way, but when I mean redefining success, you can think of it as like celebrating the little things. But that is a little hard to do in reality. I think celebrating the small things for someone who is so focused on the next thing all the time, it is hard to train yourself to do. But what is easier to do is start to define success, not by how much you're doing, but how deeply you live. And I'm trying to do that by journaling. I'm trying to do that by taking those little mini rest breaks. I'm trying to do that by traveling when I have the opportunity. I'm trying to do that by spending quality time with my friends and family. And I think that is the most effective way to get out of your headspace of like that inner productivity maniac in your head. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking and changing about, like redefining productivity in my mind to how deeply did I live my life today. And I think it's working out somewhat so far, but again, it takes dedication and practice, and I'm still on that journey. So I really just wanted to take this episode to like hash out all my thoughts on that, and it's like now like 40 minutes long, this video. I hope for those of you who stuck around for this whole boring conversation, like, I really appreciate you. And like, please like and subscribe, because I have a lot more to share on this, and if you relate in any kind of way, I would really appreciate you commenting, because I don't know anybody else who struggles with this. For me, I've kind of only been like, I'm the only one that I know that like has this kind of mindset, so who knows if it's normal or not, but I really would appreciate it if you guys relate in any sort of way, or don't relate in any sort of way and have like thoughts on your differences, to comment below, and I will do my best to like look through all of them, respond, and of course, if anyone has any questions about how I got to where I am today, I'm happy to, always happy to like talk about what I've done, and when I was teaching conservation in action at Berkeley, people would ask me all the time, like, totally all these different kinds of questions, so no question is bad, and any thoughts that you have are always appreciated. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this really special episode of Wildlight. For me, it's probably the most personal thing I've put out on the internet, and if you liked it, please support and follow, and I'll see you on the next episode of Wildlight. So bye guys.